सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयोः श्रुत्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। नमः श्रीयतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे। So, Sharat Maharaj is discussing Sri Ramakrishna's play, his manifestation as a guru from different standpoints with respect to different personalities. We saw what was his relationship with Thotapari, then Brahmani. These were all very, very special because these personalities had come very close to Sri Ramakrishna. They were very deeply, intricately related to his own life of sadhana. Because they came essentially to guide him. So naturally, they were themselves in one sense Guru of Sri Ramakrishna. इसके लिए यही दो चार व्यक्ति के साथ श्री रामकृष्ण के दो संपर्क थे, वो संपूर्ण अलग है. That is a totally a different type, different dimension, because these personalities themselves had a very significant role to play in shaping the spiritual destiny of Sri Ramakrishna himself. As we again and again discussed, वो हो सकते हैं परब्रह्म के मनुष्य रूप धारण करके धरती पे आए थे. He came straight from that superconscious level, taking the help of a human form or a human figure, and he came down on earth. But as is often emphasized, that he also has to follow some of the game rules of existence on earth. इसी कारण से उनका भी शिक्षा दीक्षा लेना पड़ा था. So everything was there. Of course, in one sense, that is what the highest Advaita Vedanta also says. Everything is new in all of you. So, कैसे इसका विकसित करना, how to really bring about the manifestation or the clear demonstration. So, in that sense, as we evolve in the scale of our spiritual dimension, more and more this manifestation is very clearly discernible, not only to oneself, also to others. Both at the subjective and at the objective level, it is very clearly discernible. Further, a greater a person in his own spiritual dimension or conception, for example, somebody like an avatar, somebody like an acharya, somebody like an adhikarika purusha, somebody like an Ishvara Koti, and then like that it goes down that way. So if it's an avatar, just a mere hint, a mere suggestion. See, in one sense you can call Thotapuri was Ramakrishna's guru, but कोई ऐसा guru कहाँ मिलेगा, ऐसा शिष्य भी कहाँ मिलेगा आपका? Just he says you concentrate here and एक टुकड़ा that he takes one piece of glass and pierces and he gets into Brahma Gyan. What is all like? It's not possible even in a cinema, let alone in real life. So that means what? Such persons, because that was seen later also in Sri Ramakrishna's life, whenever there was an occasion, whenever there was a suggestion, कहाँ कि कभी भी कुछ संकेत मिलता था, immediately he would go into that superconscious level. So for him, he only needed an excuse to dive deep into that level. But still, these are all given very special status. In fact, the Ramakrishna order itself traces its descent to the Puri Sampradaya, beginning from Thotapuri. So, similarly, Bhairavi Brahmani, see, Sri Ramakrishna was like a raw, uncut diamond. Bhairavi Brahmani came and chiseled and gave shape, and it glowed brilliantly thousandfold. Because no, he's going through the entire gamut of Vaishnava sadhanas, all the 64 tantras, the sadhanas relating to each one of them. See, he was not a person, his knowledge was not bookish, his knowledge was direct experience. So probably he might have already undergone all that. Even without Bhairavi Brahman, he would have reached even far higher status. But then in the objective world, you need to establish all this so that it becomes a tradition, becomes a sampradaya, becomes an acceptable thing. In fact, that's why Swamiji somewhere says, who is Krishna or Christ or Buddha? They are just only a very small fragment, so to say, of the extraordinary personalities that are completely unknown, unheard of, unsung, unseen heroes, so to say. So Swamiji himself says, those who come to the forefront are in fact very insignificant compared to those who are behind or who are not seen. So that way Sri Ramakrishna himself would have done all these and even much more, but because Bhairavi Brahmani came, there was a clear methodology, a way that is accepted by the society, by the world, even by even if you say sadhakas, they also form a class by themselves. So that was needed. So Sri Ramakrishna has to enact the drama of being like that, Pandits being called, an assembly being held, that was being announced, someone contesting, someone arguing for and against. All that's all part of that great drama. That's why, the Sri Ramakrishna and his divine play, Lilaprasanga. That is how it is titled. So, that being so, these people had a very definite role to play themselves. And then as we saw, each one of them, more essentially, they came to be fulfilled because they were themselves very great personalities. But for the intervention of Sri Ramakrishna, their life, their spiritual sadhana, their spiritual enlightenment or achievement would have been certainly incomplete, because at that point Sri Ramakrishna really gave them that drift or that extra mileage, extra that push, so that they became very great and extraordinary in their own lives. So then after finishing the discussion with regard to those, now Sarath Maharaj is taking us through a different path, different journey, where what was the interaction between Sri Ramakrishna and other sadhus of various orders. So then some more aspects of Sri Ramakrishna as a guru, all these are all being discussed, because in the case of Totapari and Bhairavi Brahmani, just as their instruction to Sri Ramakrishna was very specific, similarly Sri Ramakrishna also gave them a very definite drift, very definite direction. For example, Totapari was found wanting, or he was incomplete with respect to the manifested aspect of Brahman. He was only conscious of the non-dual aspect. He was not ready to recognize the manifestation at all. The whole thing according to him was Maya, complete covering of ignorance. But Sri Ramakrishna opened his eyes, took him to Bhavatarani, made him accept her, and then thereby he fulfilled, and then he gave him a higher orientation or higher understanding of the life itself, in that everything that you see is Brahman. You don't have to ignore the manifested aspect as Maya or ignorance. Similarly, in the case of Bhairavi Brahmani, it was little even different. She was extremely possessive of Sri Ramakrishna, and she used to get so angry, and she thought that she was alone to guide Sri Ramakrishna. Then Sri Ramakrishna made her understand that she has to do tapasya, go into solitude and pursue her own path. She accepted and went to Varanasi. But in the case of the others, they came at different times in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. They all had also interactions, but it was not the type of interaction with Bhairavi Brahmani or Totapari had. Yet they all left their own little marks in the personality of Sri Ramakrishna, and in turn, Thakur also guided them and gave them something very special. So the chapter starts with a discussion about Keshav Sudarshan and a group of young Bengal, and then there were, then Thakur talks about how the different sadhus of different sampradayas, how they go about, what is the nature of the wandering monks, how they would go to different places, wherever food and water was available, wherever there was place to stay was available, wherever regular some arrangement for bhiksha was made, they would go to such places, and also where they could be free from other botherations, etc. So that way slowly the word spread that Dakshineswar is a good a resting place for sadhus where they were treated very well, they were given enough by way of bhiksha and all that. There was also a big jungle where those days, people only used to go to open fields to relieve themselves. So that way it was also a very big forest area was nearby. So everybody thought that it's a very wonderful place to stay, and that is how Rasmuni's temple garden became very famous. And then slowly they would come. And then many of them would also slowly land up in Sri Ramakrishna's room. Because जब आते थे इधर उधर थोड़ा तो दिन में क्या करेंगे? They will light up dhuni and this and that. लेकिन फिर इधर उधर घूमते घूमते they also used to come to the room of Sri Ramakrishna, and they would start discussions and Vedanta and this and that. So at particular times, certain types of monks would gather here in large numbers. Once the great Parahamsa sannyasis began to come, they were not like vagabond mendicants looking for food. This room, pointing to his own, was always crowded with sannyasis, day and night. They would talk about Vedanta, Brahman, the nature of Maya, and Asti Bhati Priyam. And this is some very basic idea in the school of Vedanta, which always talks about existence, knowledge, bliss. So, the nature of Brahman, the nature of ultimate reality, the nature of supreme ultimate idea is always defined as, it's supposed to have three apparent qualities or ideas, although, it's normally described as Nirgun, Nirakar, Brahman also. But then in the manifested world, these three is what they would always account for. That is, it's of the nature of existence, it is of the nature of knowledge, and it is of the nature of bliss. Thereby, it is accounting for the entire existence itself. So Sri Ramakrishna himself would explain, do you know what this is? It is the true nature of Brahman. Vedanta explains it this way. See, what is it that, how do we recognize anything that is manifest? How do we recognize anything that we call finally as experience or our awareness? They explain like this: supposing there is an object, there is a chair or something which we recognize as so and so. Before that experience of our seeing it physically, there is a awareness at the level of consciousness that comes first, and that brings this knowledge that this is such and such. Actually, normally we always think that we see something physically and then it comes to our mind. No, it is the other way. Because otherwise, how do you know about an object? There are so many objects, and also our experience or perception, it's always, even in the Shastras is defined. The ear hears because behind that is the consciousness. The eye sees because behind that is the consciousness. Otherwise, if you cut this ear apart and keep it, will it be the function of hearing in it? Or if the eye is taken apart and kept? No. It's not only the physical linkage in terms of the nerves and this and that, bones, etc., flesh, skin and all that. Beyond that also, these are all actually, for example, a table cannot recognize a chair. One inert object cannot so that means there are millions of objects. There is no paraspar, there is no recognition. Only there is some entity behind which there is this Chaitanya, the consciousness. When that interacts, when that perceives, then only perception takes place. So it is very clear, the external object by itself is not capable of revealing what is within you in the nature of consciousness, in the nature of Chaitanya. That first gets into the act. Then that, when it throws its searchlight on whatever it is, then you get the knowledge that is so and so. So that is why, even the same thing, for me, it looks like just a chair. For a carpenter, it would look like something else. For an interior decorator, still something else. So, the object by itself, it is nothing. Only the knowledge that is within you, Chaitanya, when it throws its light, accordingly it gets revealed. So that is why they say, the thing that we know becomes manifest. How? Whatever truly exists manifests itself. This manifestation is the nature of knowledge. The thing that we know becomes manifest to us, and the thing that we do not know remains unmanifest. That's why sometimes even if you see, it doesn't make any impression at all. It doesn't reveal itself because that knowledge is not in you already. Isn't it true? So Vedanta says that whenever we are conscious of an object's existence, that object is simultaneously revealed along with our consciousness. The moment I am aware, so this awareness comes from that Chaitanya that is behind my existence. So that is why they call it as asti, knowledge, existence. And fourth, then in other words, we become conscious of its nature as knowledge. So first the existence that comes out of it, then the moment that awareness takes place, we call it knowledge, we know it is. And then the moment that knowledge comes, it slowly generates a sense of dearness, a sense of priya, a sense of love of the nature of that. So that is how it is called asti, bhati, priyam, the three things. And fourth, we feel it as dear. That is, its blissful nature rouses a feeling of love within us and causes us to love. Thus, wherever we are conscious of existence, we are also conscious of knowledge and bliss. Therefore, what is existence is also knowledge and bliss. What is knowledge is also existence and bliss. What is bliss is also existence and knowledge. That means what? All the three coexist simultaneously. And all the three are revealed practically simultaneously. So there is actually no gap, virtually no gap between the awareness that is generated due to the consciousness that is within us, and then the simultaneous knowledge of the thing by itself, coupled with our desire or love that is generated through that. So that is why they say in existence, everything is basically of the nature of love. So existence knowledge is this asti bhati priyam. I mean, he has given a very simple, non-technical explanation to this. If you go to any standard book on Vedanta, there may be about 100 pages written about this very three things. So, what is bliss is also existence knowledge. This world, the objects within it, and all beings have their source in Brahman. And the true nature of that Brahman is asti bhati priyam or sat chit ananda. Sat is existence, chit is knowledge, ananda is bliss. So that is why they say Brahman is of the nature of Satchidananda. Brahman is particularly when the manifested aspect of Brahman is recognized, it's always a wonderful idea to take it as this consisting of these three layers or these three ideas. The Uttara Gita says that after illumination, one realizes that the Paramatman dwells in the place, person or thing to which one's mind is drawn. Yatra yatra mano yati tatra tatra param padam. So it is also said in the Vedas that because sense objects are permeated by Brahman, the human mind runs after them. So there is this idea, even this so-called attraction, even this so-called tremendous desire that we see manifesting in personalities, that also they say the same thing if you trace back to the source, again it is coming from the Brahman only. So in one sense, the extreme form of hatred is also an extreme form of attachment, an extreme form of a possession, and behind that is love. So everything they say, that is why can be traced to these three things, their existence, knowledge, bliss. So that is of the nature of Brahman. So that is why our existence is completely nothing but Brahman. These sannyasins had heated discussions concerning these topics, I was then suffering terribly from dysentery. So, लोग बहुत बातें करते थे लेकिन ठाकुर was in terrible pain. ऐसा हुआ था, he didn't have even time to go up to Jhaptala. So, they had to place a commode in the room itself, ठाकुर के लिए. लेकिन उसके बीच में भी, whenever they were in difficulty, whenever they would understand, when the intricate discussions would reach such a level, then Sri Ramakrishna would come out with a stunning answer and all of them would accept it. See again, even that's why, even through these small things, what is the idea? If the person's mind is really uplifted, the external conditions, pain, suffering, sorrow, illness, nothing would intervene. That is why you see our Shastras, when they say, they are not trying to cheat us. They say that, if you are always rooted in the idea of the body, there is no end to your sufferings. But the moment you learn to lift yourself up, then you will find that nothing is intervening or nothing is obstructing your knowledge or your vision or your blissful nature. See, all that is proving through his own life's example. He is in terrible, can you imagine a person suffering from terrible dysentery that he hasn't got time even to go up to the washroom and yet to have a commode in the room itself. Yet, whenever very anything intricate, it's not just a normal koi mamuli discussion, anything very intricate is discussed, which the assembly of sadhus couldn't decide, immediately he comes. That means what? The external manifestations, they were all only aberrations to his real nature. And in truth, he was always established in the supreme state of that blissful ananda. So that is why they say in our Shastras, attempt that through sadhana, so that your body will be there like, just as a shadow or as you be a witness or whatever it is. Let it go through all the functions. But, so it seems, towards the end of his life, when people would ask Mahapurush, he was very sick last few years. Maharaj, how are you? কেমন আছেন আপনি? कैसे हैं आप? আমি ভালো আছি. I am all right. But শরীর খারাপ. Body is not all right. See, there was a very clear distinction in his life that he was not that which they refer to as ill or as not keeping well. Those sannyasis had heated discussions. I was suffering. Hriday place 6. Despite my stomach trouble, I would listen to the discussions on Vedanta. Whenever they could not find any answer to a knotty problem, the Divine Mother revealed a simple solution to me. As soon as I told it to them, their dispute could be resolved. See, again, in each word, and each description of this, you find something different, something very revealing. He doesn't say that because I was established in Brahman, I could give a solution. He says even at that time, Mother would give me something to convey. See, how do you link all that? They are discussing some of the knottiest issues of Vedanta, where they don't recognize any Nama, Rupa, this and that. They were talking about Brahman at that level. And here is a person who is solving them, saying that, Mother who is giving me this solution, I used to give the simple solution, they would be happy. The problem could be resolved. So, that is one thing, if you see constantly in Sri Ramakrishna's life, through all these incidents, through all these discussions, one thing again and again comes to the forefront of our mind is his idea of an integral aspect of Vedanta. Whether it is anything, he is not ready to keep away or keep apart or remove or segregate anything from that totalness, from the total Vedanta, total consciousness. Whatever is manifest, whatever is seen, whatever is unseen, he wants to embrace everything and present such a holistic idea. So that, always, what is the idea? Is saying that most knotty problems of Vedanta were solved by a simple suggestion which Mother used to send. Once a monk came who had a beautiful glow on his face. He often remained seated in one place, just smiling. In the morning and evening, he would come out of his room and look around. Seeing the trees, the bushes, the sky and the Ganges, he would raise his arms and dance with joy. Sometimes he would roll on the ground, laughing and exclaiming, "Bah, bah, bah, kya maya! Kaise banaya? Kaisa prapanch banaya? Bravo, what fun, how wonderful is this Maya. What an illusion God has conjured up. That was his way of worship. He had attained the bliss of God. So he is giving, sample of different types of sadhakas. So here is a man who would come, he would take shelter, he would take food, this and that. But his only sadhana was morning and evening he would come out to his room, look at the sky, look at the stars, look at the bushes and this and that and dance with joy. See, the point is, that person he had attained the complete knowledge, the complete bliss of God, whereby, he was not prepared to come down from that even for a moment. Even as he used to admire, even when he would come and dance and all that, the constant refrain, the constant emphasis in his words was that, how have you conjured up this Maya? All these are all, so many things apparently attractive, apparently distracting. They are all just only illusions. Really, you be in that deep inner poise whereby you are always established in Brahman. The point is, whatever he would see outside, the bushes, the trees, the water, the sun, the moon, everything, yes, they are all wonderful, but then constantly changing. Sun, you admire, after some time it becomes so hot, you can't stand it. Then it gets cool and then it disappears finally. Same with moon, same with water flowing, same with trees, change of seasons. That's why he says, everything looks so beautiful, but everything is so evanescent, so transient, so disappearing in nature, so impermanent. So there is nothing to be joyful about this manifestation itself. Think about the entity behind this, which is eternal, which is unchanging. So he says, kaise banaya prapanch? What Maya you have created, all that to make people get into all that, so that they forget the real source of bliss, which is the source of all this. Whatever is created by that. Another time a monk came who was drunk with divine knowledge. He looked like a ghoul. About this, I think in Kathamrita also this is very clearly discussed. So, he had practically no clothes. He had only some old chadar in the upper part of his body. Maybe he had picked up from some dead body or somewhere. Absolutely no idea, no consciousness of the body itself. Since he would stand before the Divine Mother's image and chant some hymn with such a force, the whole temple would reverberate. It was so powerful, was his voice and the way he would chant it. And then he fixed his eyes on the image and recited a hymn with such power that it seemed to me the whole temple shook, and Mother looked pleased and smiled. Then he went to the place where they were giving food, not to sadhus, where they were giving food to beggars. Even beggars were not ready to entertain him. They said, jao. क्योंकि इतना गंदा, इतना कोई कपड़ा नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है, is unclean. Even beggars were hesitant. But he did not fight. Simply he went and took his place amongst dogs. कुछ कुत्ता सब वहाँ खा रहा था खाना. So he sat with them. He put his hand on the body of a dog, and together both of them were eating from the same leaf. The point is, normally, of course, there are all such people are considered only mad and absolutely unfit for society in the normal parlor. But because Sri Ramakrishna was there, he could recognize. Otherwise, people would only throw stones and then beat or drive away such people. How would you know whether it is a mental aberration or a true state of divine consciousness? It's impossible for ordinary people to find out. As I told you, even Ramana Maharshi, when he was in that Pathal Guha, deeply immersed in Samadhi, the urchins would constantly throw stones and blood would ooze from his body. Only one old lady, she somehow recognized that this person was very extraordinary. She would come and dress the wounds and forcefully feed him something and all. Otherwise he would have also died, just as Ramakrishna's case one wandering monk did. So, he says they wouldn't let him sit near them. He had put one arm around a dog, and the two of them were sharing the remnants of the food on one of the leaves. The dog didn't bark or try to get away, even though the man was a stranger. So Sri Ramakrishna immediately saw, and then suddenly he was himself afraid that he might also end up like him and have to live like that, roaming around. Then, after some time, he told Hriday, this is not ordinary madness, he is mad with the highest God consciousness. Jab suna Hriday ke to turant, he became immediately excited and started running after that person. He went quite some distance and asking him, please aap meri ko diksha dijiye, bata dijiye kaise Bhagwan labh karna. Of course, he was least interested anyway, at least he asked that question. And then, for quite some time he did not respond. Finally, when Hriday went on following him, then he said, he pointed to the gutter by the roadside and said, when that water and the water of the Ganges seem to be the same and equally pure to you, then you will realize God. He said this much and nothing more. So when Hriday asked him how to realize God, he said, what is the quality? How do you see? Just as other people were taking away, saying that you are not pure enough. Other people were not pure enough to go to God, and God had kept them away. But this person could go so near God because he was so pure inside. The more and more you become purer at the internal level, at the mental level, the external purities, they are... See, that's why, you remember when Nalini, she was young and she had gone and she had stepped onto something, and then she came back, it was night, it was winter, she wanted to take bath, she was staying outside, she wouldn't even enter the house, it was so cold, nobody could convince her. She said, no, unless I take Ganges bath, this impurity of my stepping on something will not go, what to do? Mother said, these, that, everything. She said, finally, you just touch me. What is that? He said, how many times I have walked over so many things, what is that? It's only your suchiva, your obsession with this kind of a thing. See, the point is, the more and more your mind is focused on the external things, the impurities, the ugliness, the unwantedness, the impurity, that strikes us more and more. The more and more you become purer inside, the outside things are... See, I have seen people, they go to these Tirtha Kshetras, etc. They are simply, they will go and they will deeply immerse, absorb there. There are many who say, no, I cannot go because it is crowded, these, that. No. See, the point is, it is possible if you concentrate more and more on the inner things, outer problems, outer disturbances should go away. Because, when so many people gather, so much of vibrations are created, so much of inner feeling is supposed to be there. But if you are already worried, itni log baithenge, bagal mein baithenge, ye hoga, there will be smell of sweat and this and that. Because you miss it, that's all. So, this person says, the moment you feel that, see, what a state of mind for one to feel that the water, the gutter and the Ganges water are equally pure. What is that? At the highest level, if you go beyond, see, even in a normal, according to science also, if you dissect them and go back to the elements, they are, whether it is Ganges water or the gutter water, both are hydrogen and oxygen, that combination only. So if you go more and more, that is why from grosser to the subtle, the more and more you go undertake that journey, more and more the subtler aspects of things are revealed. See, for a person in a lab who is doing an experiment, who are cutting, with dead bodies, those students, they never ever feel that, they want more dead bodies. They are keen to get samples so that, they can experiment, they can find out. They never think that, it is something, we have touched the dead body, today we have to go and take bath. But, after cremation, all of us go and take bath. So, that means, they are not interested in the grosser external shape or figure. They are going into deeper, even at a slightly less grosser level, they are able to handle all that, touch and even do anything without that feeling, because their mind has already just crossed the first step of supreme grossness, namely it is a body, it is a dead body, it is impure, these, that, all those things are gone. So, if you go subtler and subtler, if you go through that journey, slowly you will find that nothing, these are all, then you are going further and further. Then ultimately you go completely to that level where you absolutely see no distinction at all. Because if you feel everything is consciousness, everything is Brahman, where is the difference? So, as an example is that, how will you do that? Is it by, today you take gutter water, tomorrow Ganges water, is that how will you reach it? No. When you reach that state, what is the manifestation? What is the understanding? Both would look absolutely same. It is not that you start using them and then trying to understand. It is when you reach the subtlest level, then you find that all these grosser manifestations are absolutely, these distinctions are meaningless. Then, again, Hridaya was trying to chase him. He wanted to hear something more. Maharaj, please make me your disciple and take me with you. He did not say anything. He was going. After some time, when he saw Hridaya was still following, suddenly he turned round. He showed such a terrible expression of anger and took up a brick to beat him. Hridaya simply ran away. And he dropped the brick and went away, and he was not traced afterwards. He was not traceable at all. Left and disappeared. After that, he was nowhere to be found. Such great monks go around like that, so people won't bother them. The monk was a true Paramahamsa. So, that is what, even, so again, even in the discussion of about Swamiji, the discussion of Thakur Ma and even some of the great disciples, we must all understand that is what should make us be a little more serious or indulge in a little more sadhana, because their sacrifice is something very extraordinary. This Paramahamsa Thakur was the Paramahamsa of such Paramahamsas. But yet, he stayed amidst us, he went to house after house, he called people repeatedly, he would send information, send messengers. And for mother, imagine the life, Swamiji, what a sacrifice. They could have easily remained absorbed and said goodbye to the world. But deliberately, just as in Gita it is said, Sambhavami Atma Maya, they deliberately put on the cloak of delusion or Maya, so that millions could be shown the way, shown the path. So, if you don't understand, Swamiji is seen with this coat and turban and all. It's only poor minds, limited minds, small minds can think like that. You must understand, the real nature was, what is Swamiji's real nature? That was shown when he went to Amarnath. Absolutely with loin cloth, verily like Shiva, completely immersed in ashes, and saying, coming out, Shiva gave me Ichha Mrityu. That was Swamiji, that was his real nature. These are all only aberrations, but for the sake of humanity, for the sake of mankind, so that they will be shown a path. That is where their greatness lies. This Ramakrishna Vivekananda are that tradition. It will take 1,000 years for people to understand. But essentially, what is behind this? What Swamiji said as renunciation and sacrifice, it is manifested in the greatest dimension is their own lives. It is a sacrifice of the highest order, not sacrifice of some material things or property or money. Sacrifice of the highest bliss, namely Brahmananda. They gave up Brahmananda and decided to stay in Bhajanananda and even little lower than that, so that the entire humanity can be shown the path to spiritual redemption. So service is the highest order. What service people we are doing? Little giving some money or food or clothes or relief or this? No. Service is the highest order, where they are shown how to really become illumined in spiritual life, how to reach God, how to get over all these worldly miseries, how to tune the mind in a higher direction. So, it's extremely impossible even to have a very little, even an iota of understanding or even the glimpse of their true personality by ordinary minds. The scripture says that Paramahamsas live in this world like boys, ghouls or madmen. They allow little boys to play around them because they want to learn to be like them. Children are not attached to the things of the world. Thakur also says. So Paramahamsa is a grown-up person physically, but at the mental level, just like a small boy of 5 years or 6 years, where there is that apparent innocence, apparent detachment. So Thakur also gives, supposing he has a new cloth, you ask him, how is it? No, I won't give, mother gives. Then later on, you give him a very ordinary toy, he will take it and just like that, take out that very cloth and give it. And even after some time, that toy also he throws and goes after something else. Maybe he's building something in the mud, some house. That is his greatest possession. That means what? No, it is not basically, the mind is not attached to anything. Completely prepared to give up anything the moment it wants to. So that complete control over the mind. But then, there is always, that means, are all children Parahamsas? No. This is a state which is indicative of the highest state of purity, where such a person, once he reaches, what happens is an indication. But in the case of children or young people, all those things are dormant, the samskaras, the tendencies. So as we grow, because after some time, the more and more we come into contact with the world, with the earth, with others, with people and all that, again and again, the sanskaras get kindled, we are reminded, and with the previous births, experiences and that, again we start accumulating, and then slowly our ignorance, all those things come and cover us, and again, unless you do intense sadhana, you cannot go back to that real original state of bliss or ananda or that knowledge. So apparently for the external world, for what it looks like, a Paramahamsa might look like a young child. That's why they would like to move around children, because that is closest to their nature at the earthly level. Paramahamsas are completely, they are immersed in the highest knowledge, but they also have to live in a Vyavaharic world. They are also physically, they have got a body, they have got mind, they have got other things. So how do they live? They live in the company of such children, so that they are again and again reminded of that state only, and then they don't have to relate to anything else. So, many days passed. Gradually the visits of Paramahamsa monks became fewer. The Ramayit Babajis then began to come in groups. They were wonderful monks, devout and full of renunciation. Ah, what devotion and faith they had. How steadfastly did they serve the Lord. It was from one of them that Ramlala came to me. That's a long story. So, as I said, in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, it was a huge jatra, a huge theatre. Scene after scene was being enacted. What is it suddenly? Why should Paramahamsa sadhus stop coming? Is there any scarcity of Paramahamsa sadhus? That scene was over. You have to bring the next scene, namely Ramayas. Only Paramahamsas keep coming, then what was his relation with Ramayas? And how the Ramayana sadhus became fulfilled coming into contact with Sri Ramakrishna. All that, how can it be really revealed? So, remove the Paramahamsas, now put the next scene. The scene is again enacted. This time Rama has come, Babaji has come. What was their condition? Now he will explain. Now actually, I said, through each one of these incidents, we should always remember there are two aspects. One is what is happening to them. What is the transformation that is happening in their lives? The other is which aspect, which quality, which special nature of Sri Ramakrishna is being revealed or being enacted through each one of these interactions. That's a very special study. Because even through this Ramlala, Sri Ramakrishna is particular, his extraordinary capacity to relate to even a murti, an image. Because image worship is considered just the beginning of spiritual life. Long after even the highest Vedantic knowledge, how a person, how a true Paramahamsa could also relate to an image, make it living and make it really capable of stirring the highest spiritual emotions or spiritual tendencies in a person is an extraordinary stage. That's why Swamiji said somewhere in the West, the Westerners, they criticize that Hindus are idol worshippers. I have lived with such a person. If the world can produce one such idol worshipper, it's worth living, and such expressions he used about Sri Ramakrishna. Because, he had seen what a person who started with idol worship, where he ended. So it is not really, idol worship doesn't mean that you should stop there or be busy with only the external formalities. Anything, you want an occasion, you want a signal, you want some symbol to start with, anywhere you can begin. But the goal is the highest. That we should never forget. That is important. Not the symbols or the occasions or the methods or the aids that you take or you resort to, these are all just incident. Next week we shall see Thakur's Leela with Ramlala. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna.